So we are now recording. Uh, I'll go ahead and lead us in prayer.
Thank you.
Father God, we just praise you and we thank you that you have allowed us this time, that you want us to live forward, that you have great plans for us, and you want us to listen. You want us to know how near you are, and we praise and we thank you for that. Lord, teach us. Teach us today what it is we need to do to implement these plans and what it is that we need to do to be diligent and consistent with them. And we thank, and Lord, I just ask that you would protect Rick's eye and that you would bring Sandra and Rick home safely, and that he would be healed, that his body would be healed. And we also, for Linda and several other people, have some illness issues going on today. So we ask for you, by your power, by your blood, that you would heal them in Jesus' mighty name.
Amen. Amen. So, hi, everybody. I am right now first of all, can you hear me okay? I'm not using my usual setup. So I'm in a hotel room in Merritt Island, Florida. I have to remember to look down. I usually look up for my camera, but I got to look down. I've been with my husband at a Southeast pastors conference for our church denomination, Calvary Chapel, and it's been a huge blessing. But I'm here hi Heather, but I'm here in a kind of a strange hotel room.
She thinks it's a cheesy hotel, is what she told me.
It is cheesy, but it's okay. It's like you want to keep your shoes on. Let's put it that way. Well, anyway, this has been. We are now. Oh my goodness, we have made so much headway in our study. We recognize that everybody is on their own path with this. They're on their own journey. They're on their own road, and it's exactly where you're supposed to be. So hey Cheryl.
Hey,
so I had planned on being at home this part, and I was going to have a bunch of balloons behind me because I wanted to celebrate everybody's success to date. But just pretend like I've got lots of celebration balloons behind me. But what we want to do for the next two sessions, this one and the last one, is we want to give you a toolbox for how to take this life plan that you've worked so hard on and how to put it into action. Because we know we're all really good at attacking projects, aren't we? We're all kind of good at that. But sometimes, well, let's say always, there's our distractions that keep us from the complete implementation of our plans. Life gets in the way. Life happens. It's normal, praise God, that we have life and that we, just get to experience so many things as life unfolds before us. But the point of this whole process is that we are empowering ourselves through God's guidance to be prepared for what the life has to bring. Because as we know, we have been created as God's masterpiece with very specific plans for us. But those plans can be thwarted, can't they? They can be thwarted by so many things. And so what we want to do is to basically have that anchor, that life support, that foundation of knowing what our purpose is, our personal purpose is, and knowing that we have a plan in action, and it's a living plan. It's one that can change and morph and adjust to what we have before us, which of course we can never predict. All we can predict is that we don't know what's going to happen. So what I'd like to do, what we're going to do today is talk about the specifics that are in the book about how to implement your plan. And there's two chapters. One is really focuses on the day-to-day implementation of your plan, and the other is on how to keep it alive, how to allow this plan to do what mine has done for the last 2 years, and I look forward to the next 10, of changing with each year and being modified and adjusted. So we're going to talk about that. And then we have the next week, we're going to be bringing in some of our own additional understanding beyond the book of how strategies that we know work for people who are trying to implement specific kinds of changes in their life. So that's our broad overview of where we are and what we're going to be doing. But first of all, before we move into that, I want to give us all a chance to just reflect on where we are. And I do want each of us to talk. I put that into the Facebook post, so maybe that's why so many people left. I don't know. No, I'm kidding. But what we want to do is establish the pattern for you of celebration. That's really an important component of implementing your life plan. This is not a have to do, must do. There is a sense of urgency, but it's more of a mindset of, I'm honored to do, I'm humbled that I can do, I look forward to this. And the best thing that you can do for yourself is to have grace and forgiveness for yourself, because we will not do everything on our plan. We will not do everything exactly as we did it. But what we do know is that every step is directed. We know that every step is towards the goal. And so we must find the way of looking positively at, in a celebratory fashion for where we are. So what I want to do is do a round table, and we have, I think, Lisa, do we have any? We got 6 people on. Okay.
Right.
So Lisa, let's start with you. This is the question that I have for everybody is, as you've gone through the process and to whatever level you've gone, whatever point you've reached, it could be like, well, I read the first chapter, but in your process, which you just went through, what do you think was your most memorable learning moment? What was the key thing that touched your heart and really gave you a different kind of perspective?
I think the key was that I probably wasn't as honest, and the word isn't honest, open with my husband about who I am. And then when he read my life plan, it was a little scary. It's like, why are you intimidated that he's going to read this? There's no reason for you to be. But it just showed.
It's intimidating, though. Personal.
Well, but we should be that personal with our mates, even though. So I love the fact, the learning moment is that's a gift to be that open and personal. It's a gift to him, and it was a gift to me, that the words of encouragement that he gave. So that was huge for me. There are several other, I think from a relationship standpoint, that was it. The other is that I'm considered the planner. I'm considered the one that organizes. If you need something done, give it to Lisa, let Lisa do it. That kind of like let Mikey do it, let Lisa do it. I realized, though, how much of my life I didn't even think about what I wanted, and I didn't plan. So getting this down on paper, whether I do it or change it, it's like I got to choose, because it's kind of inaction. I chose not doing it because I didn't have it thought through. And now that I have it thought through, I now have a choice to do it or not to do it, or change it, or whatever.
It's on the table.
Thank you. I was struggling with that.
It's on the table now. Now you have to figure out which one. That's so weird when I do mine. I have a weird camera here. Makes my hands look giant. You have a choice as to which one you pick up.
Didn't know what I didn't know.
And it's not always one bad and one good, is it? Is that,
No.
We often have the option of 2 really awesome choices.
But now at least they're choices because they're on paper.
It's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Who wants to go next? I'll call on you. Oh, Heather, I know you're nervous, so we'll just get you done first.
Oh, okay.
Love
Can
you.
you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Oh, okay. I can't tell. It's a new phone, so I'm kind of.
You're doing great.
Okay. So can you repeat the question one more time? My son
So,
was
so
texting me in
to
the
the
middle
point to which I don't know how far you've gone in your life plan, and so and it doesn't matter. But what has been a really memorable teaching moment, personal teaching moment for yourself? What's been uncovered through this?
Being overwhelmed with it, it's really good. I absolutely love it. It's trying to think how to word it. It's just kind of made me think a lot about, as it was coming into this, I was already kind of at that point where something needed to change. I needed to kind of try and find myself after, years of doing all this other stuff. And it was just kind of like, okay, it was good for me to actually think of things from my perspective and for myself versus everybody else in my life. But yeah, it's, and then planning that. I'm not as far along as I'd like to be, but I am where God has me, and it's coming along great, and I really, really enjoy it. So
that's great.
It's good.
That is great. So what I'm hearing from you is that you've received encouragement to turn to yourself and take care of some things for yourself, whereas before it was all. It's a typical woman thing, right?
Yep, I'm at the bottom of the list.
Yeah. But as we are going to talk about later this morning, is that we do have to make choices that support ourselves, because how else can we serve others if we don't serve ourselves? Right. So it's not a self-serving thing. It really, in the end, is what helps us maintain our relationships and our purpose in life.
Yeah, I liked in the book where he talked about, the whole airplane thing. Put your mask on first, so then you can talk to somebody else.
Yeah, that's always such a good lesson. And see, you were awesome. Thank you so much, Heather.
No problem.
Who wants to go next?
Dara Fischetti. I don't know if everybody has her on their Facebook page, Super Fit Girl. I don't know where she's at today, but anyway, look at her post of today, and it's about self-love. And it's not a negative, it's positive. And it's exactly what you were saying, Heather. We have to come to where we're going to nurture ourselves.
Right.
And we as believers understand the correct perspective on that. We know it's not because we are wanting to elevate our carnal selves. It's, we're wanting to serve more. We're wanting to follow God's plan. And we can't do that, say, if we have a body that's falling apart or untended to relationships that are very critical in our lives. We can't serve well. This is just some examples.
Right.
Who wants to go next?
I'll go next to get it over.
Cheryl. Pretty girl.
Barbara knows me, and I'm not one that likes to speak up too often, but I want to say how much I am truly enjoying this. I'm not as far along as I wish I could be right now. But I am, every week, like today, there's just so much going on, and I'm like, I'm not missing it. Although I didn't know you had that post that I have to speak, so maybe I would have. But it is hard to sit and write out something. Like if I wrote it out how I am now, but when you think of what you want people to say, it does feel kind of awkward. And I've done some of that and have really gotten, a lot out of that. I had planned yesterday to be my day to take, but we were out of town over the weekend, and my mom, we got
she's okay though. She's all right.
She's doing well. I mean, she's beyond, the Lord has blessed her. Like, she has some residual, but I think some of it could be all the different meds going in her too, But anyway, so I mean, that threw a wrench into that kind of stuff. But I will, I definitely will be completing this. And I think like after the first class that I missed the first one because I was out of town, but I think everybody should do this. Like, everybody should know about this, like, seriously, because it changes your perspective on, like Heather, I don't remember what her name was, but, it's, I don't know, it completely changes the perspective of how you look at things and how your relations, you can do other self-help books and things like that, but this one, writing your eulogy and writing all the things it's crazy, but it's so awesome. So
Yeah, great. Well, you're turning into an evangelist just like we are. No, we seriously, and we'll be talking to you guys next week about it. We really want your help in knowing how to roll this out, because it's our heart's desire.
you guys
Okay.
are doing great. So
Oh, thank you. Well, it's because you guys are so faithful. Susan, Martha, who's next?
I'll go next. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. All right. So for me, I haven't, I must be honest that I haven't looked at it since I did it a week ago. And that's primarily because we were traveling. I wasn't feeling well, and then we were traveling. But just sort of reflecting on it, the thing for me, I think that's the most beneficial and the most eye-opening, but I knew it, but I never did anything about it, is that we do have a choice in how we live and the legacy that we leave. But it just takes, it really takes some time to think through, and it takes time to set aside and pray about, and just really say, where am I now? I really like to, where am I now, as opposed to what is my envisioned future. And the envisioned future part for me, I think, was the most helpful, because I can see, I can be honest with myself, where am I now? And then I can sort of dream, but then what has to happen for me to get there? And I do think I agree with what Cheryl just said. I think that it's something that everybody probably should be doing, because it really makes you think, instead of just bumbling my way through life, I do have a choice, and I can leave more of the impact that I want to leave, and I can be much more intentional with how I live than how most of us live, probably. So
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Susan, you're next. Hi, Tala. Oh, Tala just joined in. Hi, Susan. Oh, we can't hear you. Hold on.
Oh, I unmuted her.
Okay. Hi, Tala.
It was interesting this morning as I was leaving Bible study. There's someone else that's doing this, but she's watching the videos later. And we both got on the topic of, it's so hard to, and you brought it up right at the beginning of looking at yourself, because you don't want yourself to be the focus. And I think that's one of the biggest struggles we all go through, because we all want to serve. So her and I were talking about that a little bit, but I said, for me, going through this process, it's just, I had to go so deep, and I've never gone that deep before, to really look deep within myself, and I guess I was more of a surface, shallow person, and
I doubt that.
Well, in some aspects, but to really dig deep and think about those relationships that are so close to me and how I want that outcome to change. So that was the most benefit for me. And I'm not completely done with it yet. Like I said, I'm doing it in little pieces. I only have a couple more life accounts to write up, so I'm just about there. I'm excited to just learn more how to keep implementing it, and keep it alive. Because just like Cheryl was saying, I think everyone needs to go through this. It is such an incredible process. I actually purchased 6 copies of the book. I keep handing them out.
Susan, I see you running a class in your future.
No.
Yes, you could.
But I'm excited to have people read the book and then discuss it with them, and just have that conversation of how it impacts your life. The important part is implementing it.
Yes.
and moving forward and
that's-
really make it happen.
And that's just a perfect segue into the next half of what we're going to do. So we're going to start talking about now the implementation. Tala, we've just been having folks share about their most memorable learning moments in the process to date. You know, everybody's at a different point in this. Is there anything you'd like to share about anything specific that has been like a, oh, wow, in the process for you so far?
I think something that's been really wonderful since joining the circle is how, and in this book in particular, is how it's really making me so much more mindful on a day-to-day basis about how I want to be, and in really putting pen to paper and having this, what was it that we were calling it, that living
document
that is changeable and malleable, which is so beautiful in and of itself, means that I can always be kind of thinking about how do I want to be, and if I am doing things in a way that, you know, that I want to be, and maybe I want to add that, or am I living in the way that I said that I wanted to be?
Yes.
So that mindfulness.
What a beautiful theme. You know, I hear this undercurrent of similarity and experience, and what I hear is the permission and actually the invitation to look at ourselves and for the purpose of becoming more of what we are designed to be. I hear I hear us all saying that this is something that everybody should do, and I've heard so many important themes about the power of making a choice and having a choice. We're used to going, like, we go to the grocery store and we have 5 choices for an item, and that's like an everyday thing. And we spend, 3 minutes in front of the canned tomatoes figuring out which one we want. And yet we often don't spend 3 minutes thinking about how we want our day, the outcome of our day to be, and how we want the outcome of our interaction with our coworkers or our spouse to be at the end of the day. So isn't that great? And Lisa, aren't you encouraged?
Oh my gosh, I'm sitting here I'm amazed that, well, I guess I'm not amazed. I am just so happy that people took the time and now are saying this was a really good use of my time.
Yes. Yes.
Because that is huge. We're all like pulled 80 different ways, and everybody says everybody should take the time to do this. So,
well, we're going to go do that, aren't we, Lisa?
We're
taking anybody along with us
by the power of the Holy Spirit. Well, okay. and I don't know if some of them on here know this, but we're actually been invited to kind of a retreat with 12 women, and we're going to do the same thing over a four-day process or whatever, and it's just going to be so fascinating to see how people
we'll learn more, won't we?
Yeah.
Well, let's dig in for just about a half hour at the most. Actually probably won't even take that long. I just want to go over chapters 8 and 9 because this is where the rubber meets the road. We spend all of this time investing, as Lisa said, investing our time in creating something so important. And yet if we just leave it on our computer or in that little notebook and don't take it out and don't use it, what a waste of time. It's sort of like going to college and then never, using what you learned. Or, you can think of other metaphors for it, but we definitely want to put it in action. So chapter 8 really deals with the day-to-day, week-to-week, quarter-to-quarter use practicalities of how to use your life plan. I'm not going to go over everything. In particular, a lot of time they had some great ideas about the concept of time management. What a huge topic. I'm no expert in that. I'm not going to try to tell you that I know how to manage time, but they do give some good perspectives there. One of them is the concept of triaging your calendar, and this is something that I reread it yesterday, and I'm so glad I did, because it's an encouragement to me to go through each week when I go through my calendar and plans, is to say, okay, is there something here I don't need to do? Is there something here that really isn't serving my plan and my purpose? And that doesn't mean it's all about me. I mean, it means I plan to do something that includes our participation in life, our participation in those relationships that are important to us, our businesses, etc. It's the big picture. So we can find that we have things in the calendar that we really actually don't need to have there. Also, the whole idea of making sure that you take time to maybe do some rearrangement of your calendar, because we all need some more. They talk about the concept of margin, having some margin, because life happens, right? Moms fall down, people have car wrecks, you run out of milk, I don't know. Life happens, and we do need to have some margin built in to that. So make sure you read about that and gather from that whatever works best for you. The thing I wanted to concentrate the most on Chapter 8 is something that has completely changed how I view requests from people. And that's the last section on learn to say no with grace. Okay, this is a big topic for everybody, especially us women who love to be helpers. Let's talk about being asked to do something that you know from the get-go. You know as soon as you're asked that you actually don't want to do that. You can't do that. If you do that, it's going to be something that is going to really have a negative impact on what you need to be doing. Correct? We've all been there multiple times, right? So what are the emotions that come when we get that phone call? Let's just take you are so great at organizing events. This is when I get, we have this great idea about doing this thing, about putting on this seminar, and we want to invite all these, and it's just going to be so amazing, and it is going to be amazing. The concept is great. Would you be willing, Barbara, to organize that for us? Okay, typical thing. Yep, for me. And we all have these kinds of things in our lives, right? Feedback, do we have these things? Yeah, okay. So what is our typical emotional reaction when that call comes? How do we feel?
Guilty. Because I don't want to do it.
How else do we feel?
Pressured.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A little anxiety, like. Also, what else? I mean, oh my gosh, I get so anxious. I get anxious because I don't like to say no. Mm-hmm. I don't like to be perceived as being unwilling, because in my heart, I really am an unwilling person. I have kind of a mean streak in me. And so my natural thing is I do not want to do that. I do not. So I don't want people to see that.
Right.
I don't want people to see that in me. I want them to see the nice Barbara.
Yeah. And you don't want to disappoint them, that person that's asking you.
Yeah.
Exactly. That'd be the kinder side of me.
And
Barbara, you are thinking that too.
Yeah, I know I am. So the idea is there is a solution to this, though. Okay, we're not talking about the good things that are part of your purpose and you just don't have the time to. We're talking about things that really do not serve your purpose, your ultimate purpose. So his section on learn to say no with grace. I read this a year and a half ago. It changed my life. Well, in a small way, but it really gave me a tool for having to do that. And he talks about, first he says, well, what are our 3 typical options that we have? We can say yes, accommodation. We say yes when we want to say no. And that's because we, like you said, Susan, we value the relationship of that person who's asking. They're great people and you love them, and you don't want to put your needs above that person. So you say, yeah, I'll do that. All the time you're going, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? The next thing is we can attack, which says we say no poorly, like, no, I really can't do that. That's just not something I want to do. Okay, so we say no without any grace at all. I've done that a few times, I think. And then the next one is to avoid it. We just, like, they send us an email. We just like, we should never, like, oh, I didn't see that. I'm so sorry. I didn't see that email. Oh, it's already gone past. Oh, I'm so sorry. I missed that email. Jeez. So those, we can all agree that those are not options that serve us well, correct? This concept, serving you well or not serving you well. Keep that in your head. So they then talk about the positive no. I love this. It's the yes, no, yes formula. So the first part is the yes, and that's an affirmation. I think the most important part of that is affirming that the request is an awesome request. Oh my gosh, that sounds so incredible. How cool is that you have this idea in your mind, or how amazing that you asked me to join you, that kind of. So it's an affirmation. You're building that person up. It comes from the heart, because this is something we all want to approach everybody with love, right? Love, love, love. So we want to speak that love into their life, right? The second part is the no. And that is the no, which is said, this is where you state the factual situation. You cannot. No, I cannot. And it's stated as a matter of fact, it's just the fact you are not able to. It has no guilt. It has no shame. It has none of those negative emotions that we talked about to begin with. And you say, no, I can't. And then you end the conversation or the request with a yes. And the yes is a positive end. And what that is something that will rebuild, renew, and restore if needed, but reconsolidate that relationship. This is a person who thinks enough of you to ask you to be involved in something. For whatever reason, your expertise, your congenial behavior, that you're the life of the party or whatever, whatever the request basis is, they've recognized you for that. And you want to, and you have responded in love to them, and you want to bring that relationship back into a closure, because what we want is the next time we're talking to that person, we do not want to feel guilt-ridden, and we do not want them to feel bad. You right? So I love that yes, no, yes formula. So let me give you a quick example of how I did that, how I used this. There was a period in time, and some of you guys in our business, know what was going on, where I was involved in organizing events for our company. And I would get requests to go do presentations from people, and it's not that I didn't mind doing it, but it could be a lot, in the context of things. So what I did at the beginning of the month is that I said I will do 2 presentations per month. That's it. That's my boundary. I will do no more, because if I do more than that, then that will start to interfere with my time with my husband, my time with my grandkids, et cetera, et cetera. So I said, that's reasonable. I'm contributing because I wanted to contribute. I wanted to serve, but I had to put a boundary on it. So then what would happen, it's first come, first serve. Whoever, I would always say yes. I mean, usually I would say yes until I had filled those 2 slots. And that doesn't mean once they were filled, even if it was the 5th of the month, I said, I can't. I'm committed. I'm committed. And it didn't have to be something, I didn't have to go to my calendar for Thursday night at 7 o'clock and see something on the calendar that prevented me from doing it. I was committed because I had committed to myself that I would protect that time. Does that make sense? And it was just in that way, I was able to have a conversation. Oh, thank you so much. You're going to do it. You're going to have a great turnout. I'm so excited for you. Unfortunately, I've already committed. I can't do it this time, but please let me know if whenever in the future I might be able to help you. And if I have time on my calendar, I absolutely will do that. So that's the kind of thing. It worked out so well. And I was very grateful to them for helping with that. Any comments on that before we move on? No.
Kala?
Yeah.
I have to say, Barbara, that I completely agree how this point can actually change your life. And I read a book called The Power of a Positive No.
Okay, yeah.
By William Ury or Early.
Okay.
U-R-L-Y or U-R-Y. And the entire book talks about this. And I highly recommend it if any of you guys also have that, find it difficult to say no. It's so well written. And his is just a tiny bit different in the sense that he says, sometimes there are times when you don't know what the right answer is. Should you say yes or should you say no? And you don't know if it's better to say yes or no. And he says that the best way, and he does the same yes, no, yes, is that you need to say yes to whatever your priorities are. So for you, Barbara, it sounds like you're saying that your relationships are your priority over these over
the service to the organization. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so your time with your husband or that time with your family and grandchildren, that is your priority. So even if somebody is saying like, Barbara, you're the best, we cannot get this done, it won't have the turnout without you, you're saying, you know, yes to my husband and that time with my family. No, I can't do that for the service this time. And then yes, he says, sending them, he says it's so awesome. It's like sending them on a golden bridge. So saying yes, and maybe the next time it would be possible. It's so beautiful. It has truly made a revelation in my life, and so I highly agree. It's
Tala, would you research the name of that book and post it or send it to me? So I'll make sure. I think I might have read that.
It's so wonderful. He's a professional negotiator for countries and governments. So he's really the real deal. Highly recommended. It's so good for somebody like myself that can really waffle. It just really shifted something, realigned something deeply inside of me. So it's wonderful.
Great. So are we all inspired to try this out?
Yes.
Practice it? Yeah, Lisa.
Yeah. Two things. When people are saying, even if they're saying yes, no, yes, what I find really trips people up is they start giving reasons why they can't do it. Yes. Well, I can't because of my mother. I can't because of what. And once you start down that reason path, your mouth starts to fumble and you just get yourself, it's like, there's no point in giving the person the reason. I can't, I'm already scheduled. I mean, that's, and Barbara was telling the truth. She had already made her schedule. So I would just caution getting into that motor mouth reason thing. It just trips you up. And
thank you so much for bringing that. That's so true. And I've learned it.
It's like, I know. It's like, you don't care what my reason is. But it makes me, I think it makes me feel better.
Well, the other thing is that you're proving point by point by point that they are less important than other things in your life.
That's actually better. I didn't think about it that way. So it's like I'm putting all this stuff in front of you versus just I can't. Thank you so much, but I can't. And the second one, when we go back and they talk about time management and everything, I think it is so key that you look at your week. I mean, they talk about looking at your week, looking at your month, whatever you do. When you have actually thought about your schedule, it is so much easier, or made a commitment or made a plan. It's just so much easier to know what you're going to say when people ask you things.
Yes.
It's the scheduling is key for you, Barbara, because you're not 2 a month. That was what your thing was. I think that's perfect.
Yeah, well, that was just a really specific situation, but there are ways of creating a strategy for dealing with things. Okay, great. Any other comments on that?
Well, it's helpful for me right now because I was just asked to do something that's pretty big, and from a really close friend, by a really close friend, and we share a lot of the same passion for internationals and Chinese in particular. But when we left there, she was going to forward me more information on this and stuff. And when we left their house, I said to Dan in the car, I said, I don't really feel like that's something I want to do or should do. But it's helpful. I'm going to read this section of the book because after now she's going to send me more information, and she's been trying to get me involved in this particular aspect of the ministry for a long time. But I do feel like I do feel like this is not something I'm going to do. So it's going to be helpful for me to.
Yeah. So the whole point is that you're focusing not upon your feeling of regret, disappointment, guilt. You're focusing on what your plan is, your life plan. That is because you have spent enough time to know where you are headed and how you want to. We can't change how much time we have. We can only change how we use our time. So it helps take it from an emotional kind of emotion-based decision to a practical and realistic decision-making process. So, and I'm all about emotion and all that, but a lot of times our emotions really get us in trouble.
Well, we say yes. We say yes when we shouldn't.
Yeah, they take us down roads sometimes we don't want to. So let me move on. Chapter 9 is very practical information on how to put this in action. And the whole thing is, it's all about consistent, planned review and modification. So this is all about protecting the investment of your time, the investment that you have created by writing this life plan. And if you do not have a plan for reviewing it and implementing it and modifying it as necessary, it will die on the vine. It will lay fallow, and it will be such a disappointment that you'll have that regret. Remember, they talked about regret at the beginning of the book. One of the downsides of not planning. So their recommendations on how to do that are totally practical. It will take you, once you have completed your life plan, it will take you a couple of months to really have that get ingrained into your inner structure. And you do that by reading it every day. And you have not created something that's an entire book. It's something that you can read in just a few minutes every day, and obviously you can get through. You can start skimming. Oh, yep, yes, but you need to read it every day until it's just part of your soul. Okay, so they recommend 90 days. It's whatever you need. But putting it aside does not work. The next thing is that you do need to be looking at your schedule, your plans for the week on a regular basis. Highly recommend that you put about 30 minutes on your calendar at a great consistent time every week. You pull out your schedule for the week. You have your life plan on the side there. You know what that says because you reviewed it that day, and you make sure that the upcoming week that you have made the adjustments that you need to make sure that you have a little margin in your schedule, that you've stolen a little bit of time so that you won't get derailed, and that you have made your plans that really match what your life plan shows. But then as we move forward, we get into, well, how does this become a living document? This is what we've talked about so far, is just how do you implement it? Well, you implement it by looking at it and following it, okay? That's pretty straightforward. But how do you make it a living document? And you do that by reviewing it in depth in a very specific pattern. I strongly recommend that you do exactly what they say, is once every 3 months, spend an hour or two. You'll know what amount of time based on kind of where you are in life, but schedule a time with zero distractions so that you can go through that written life plan. And in number one, most important, celebrate what you have accomplished. This is not for the purpose of beating yourself. Oh, I didn't do that. Oh, I didn't do that. If you have been looking at this on a daily and then weekly basis, you're not going to have you're not going to have a big surprise. Oh, I forgot that 3 months ago I was supposed to do this. You're going to know. So this is really a celebration of where your journey is taking you so far. Celebrate first. Always celebrate the victories. So important. Even something that is half done is a celebration. Even something that didn't get done, there's a reason why it didn't get done. And that reason is important to know. And learning that, having that knowledge as to why you didn't get something done, that's a reason to celebrate, because you've learned something about your life and yourself and how you work. You've learned something. So there's nothing that's bad in this. So when you sit down on every 3 month basis, you go through, and this is primarily to see what you have accomplished and to help you write your goals for the next 3 months. So I don't have mine right here, but I didn't bring it with me on this conference. But okay, I know of one. I have one specific 3 month goal of this is very personal, but anyway, I'll tell you, of creating 5 new relationships within the women of my church. Okay, because we tend to kind of who you know, but now that Jim is a pastor in the church, I feel even more compelled to be out there meeting more people. So I made that goal. Okay, so I will give you a hint. I tend to take a quick glance at things at the 2 month mark, because that gives me time to catch up. So when you go back to I just take a quick glance. Oh yeah, I want to do that. Yeah. So it'll help you. So for example, I got it was February, so I reminded myself that I said, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. I have made really good friendships with this person and this person and this person, and that's so great. But I really had said even higher. There's 2 more gals out there that the Lord has for me to meet. So it's that kind of thing. So celebrate, then reestablish what your new goals, and that will help you know how to morph things a little bit for the next 3 months. And then at the end of the year, and I've gone through this now twice, is at the end of the year, set aside a half day. I do it between Christmas and New Year's, because there's always a little, it's a little downtime then, and you really want to do the whole thing. You don't have to redo it because you've already established your overall vision of what you want in each of your life accounts is very unlikely to change much. So it's really more a matter of changing your strategy of how, because you've learned that certain strategies don't work for you, and that other things work better. So changing how you're going to accomplish your purpose and vision, and also setting up new dreams. You got some stuff done. It's time to keep moving. It's your time to go to put that big dreaming hat on and look to the future again and say, oh my gosh, this year was so awesome. What's the next year going to bring? Or you can say, that was the hardest year of my life because X, Y, and Z happened, but the new year is starting. There is something very powerful about New Year's. I don't care what they say. Every January they write all these articles on, New Year's resolutions. I think the New Year is one of the best times in the world. I just love that season of being able to prepare ahead. So that's the basics. First of all, daily reading until you've got it in your soul. Weekly, using it weekly to manage your schedule and make decisions. Quarterly review to help give you reason to celebrate, pat yourself on the back, say thank you for teaching me that, and then readjusting goals as needed. And then that once a year treat, the treat of a personal retreat to spend time with yourself and plan for the next year. So questions about that? I'm going to give you I have one other thing I want to talk about slightly, but I do want to make sure we understand that. And Lisa, please add in because you've started this process. Yeah, thank you.
The thing that just kind of surprises me, and again, I'm that nerd detail person. It takes me about 15 minutes to read it, and I think I'm 3 weeks into it, 2 or 3. And so this morning I was whining to Linda Henninger. We were talking for a few minutes. And, I'm just not sure I have 15 minutes. And I was kind of really whining about, not 15 minutes. And she gave me a quote, and I'm not positive this is it, but I think it's from Samuel Chadwick. Hurry is the death of prayer. And these life plans are our prayer, our communication with God. And I am sitting there telling Linda Henninger that I don't have 15 minutes a day to read mine and God's prayer for my life. I thought, okay, Linda, don't shoot me now, because I was so hurried. It was a matter of thinking hurry was more important than that time of reading that and putting that into my soul. And I'm usually good at that, but I kind of got in my mind that I had to hurry through that in the morning. And what a lie from the pit of the enemy.
Yeah, there you go. Any other comments on that? What do you think? You think it's workable? Is it doable? Come on. Of course it is. It is doable, absolutely. But it's scary because we're going, am I going to fail at this? Is anyone wondering about that? Am I going to fail at this? No condemnation.
Susan.
I'm thinking like that, but I'm very detailed and I have to have things written out. So I'm trying to come up, as you're all talking, I'm writing notes of how I have to keep myself accountable. Okay. So I've got my binder going. Look, see, I got my little binder. But I'm thinking, all right, I need to keep notes. And I just wrote, make a tab for each account, but have pages for journaling. So that way I can write down, maybe it's daily at first or something, but just the little accomplishments to keep me going. So I'm just making notes of ways to.
So you're strategizing already to figure out how to keep on track.
To keep myself accountable.
So the structure of how to implement the plan is pretty straightforward, but it's the accountability that's the hard part, right?
Yeah, and then I've already talked with a friend to hold me accountable. We're going to work with each other. Totally be accountable. Yeah.
Amazing.
My husband's aren't on board, but that's okay.
Well, what you said was so interesting, Susan, is, you just journal the celebrate or the little things. Last year, at the end of the year, I was like, what did I accomplish? What did I do? And I kind of was like down on myself because I just didn't feel 2017 brought much fruit. So what I did is I went through I have a calendar and emails, and I made this whole list of everything that happened in 2017. Just short thing. And when you're doing what let me back up. I could celebrate, oh my gosh, look at how far we've come, or I've come. And that's what you're doing. You're creating that list.
It reminds me of your remembrance journal. You have
okay. Book of Remembrance.
But this is going to be where I'm going to be remembering everything, all those accomplishments. I'm making sure I have extra scrap pieces of paper between each tab, count for that remembrance. Exactly.
I love it. I love it. I think everyone will have their own personal way of doing this. I use a calendar where I put my accounts for the week, and I just write the things that did get done, and then it's also at the beginning of the week I write the things that I'd like to get done, that I would in the best possible week I would accomplish, and then I can move the things that didn't get done to the next week. It's just, everyone has their own way of doing it, but having some kind of system that matches your personality, how you think, how you succeed other places, use the same technique. I want to give you a little perspective before we leave on what it's like to go through this for 2 years, and there's no doubt that it's a life-changing experience, as I think all of you are anticipating. But I also want you to know that I have failed so many times in this. Okay, I'll use the word fail. I have failed so many times in this. I have had such an ebb and flow over the past 2 years. There, of course, the beginning of the year, I'm always, a lot more on target. And then towards the end of the year, I'm a lot more on target. But in the middle of the year, for the last 2 years, it's kind of like this drifting pattern. So just expect that you will drift. Have the anticipation that will happen. Maybe it won't for you, but you will most likely, having put this plan into place, let it slide. That will probably happen. It certainly has for me several times. But what has been the best part of all this is that I have the plan. And the commitment is to myself and to my Lord to follow through on my plan. So I have it there. And I've always been able to pick it right back up because it was already in place. So just understand that there truly is a waxing and waning of what life brings to us, right? Of waxing and waning of our own personal motivation, what compels us to do things. It's not always, we don't wake up the same person every day with the same mood, right? Some people do. Lisa, you're one, but you're always, which is a good thing, but not all of us. We all have different, phases of how we are, and also our focus will ebb and flow, right? Those are normal human characteristics. What I want to encourage you to do is to be on guard for that. Yeah. That's the most important thing, is to be on guard for that. So a few helpful hints is when you take on a big project, it could be anything. I think about the first thing that came to my mind is Melissa building her barn. A huge project. Just new things coming on board. Be aware that in those times of intense focus on a single-minded focus, that's when you're likely to let your plan slip. Another thing is vacations. Just expect that. You especially the longer the vacation, the harder it is to stay focused on your plan. Just understand that you will probably not be focused on all aspects of your plan while you're on vacation, and it will take time when you get back to get refocused. But make sure that you, as you plan your vacation, you plan how and when you have the time to pick that life plan back up and get yourself back on track. So vacations are a time to be on guard. And another time, of course, are the unexpected events of life. life is truly, unpredictable. And when we have something thrown into our lives, it most commonly, of course, is the illness of a family member, an unexpected death, unexpected loss of a job, just all the things that are the things that happen. And there are also good things, A lot of times the good things are unexpected too. But just understand that to be on guard, that's when you are likely to get off track. So, and the other thing is this is that accountability with yourself, or maybe with an accountability partner, is if you find that you have not checked your plan, if it's like, say, it's April, May, if it's April and March was when you were supposed to do your quarterly, don't just say, hey, that's a warning sign. Warning, you're getting off track. Or if several weeks go by, and this is where this has definitely been the case for me, weeks and weeks go by and I haven't done any of the journaling or documenting that's my system, I go, warning. But that warning also is an opportunity to learn, because you could learn what it was that got you out of focus. You don't have to be concerned because you already have it. You don't have to go reinvent it. It's there ready for you to pick up. So it's not, I guess what I'm trying to say is, when you do find yourself going off track, do not let that feeling of discouragement come into your heart. Do not capture it, throw it away, capture that thought, send it away. It's not serving you. Do not be discouraged. And instead be encouraged, because you have made this plan, you have it, and you know exactly what to do. So be encouraged. So that's my encouragement to you guys is to have grace for yourself, forgiveness for yourself. That's just such an important personal characteristic, I think, that we can all benefit from, right? Have grace. We have grace for people. We need to have grace for ourselves too.
Well, and you know what helps me with that, Barbara, is kind of the mindful awareness practice.
Okay. 4
of us actually were at Duke, and that was the first time I had ever done mindful awareness practice. And I was thinking, you guys are crazy, But when you're doing mindful awareness practice and you're just paying attention to your breath, they teach you, okay, so when your mind wanders, just be gentle with it. Just bring yourself back to the breath.
Point.
Be gentle with yourself. Don't go, no, I can't pay attention to my breath. Yeah, okay, we're not. Just bring it back. Just bring it back. And so I think that's just such a good way to say, okay, we're just going to bring it back.
Yep, that's great. So gentleness, gentleness to yourself. Any other comments before we close? We're going to give you some homework.
I just wanted to mention, Barbara, this is Tala, that I love that idea of the quarterly, splitting things up into the quarterly time period. That really resonates for me. I think it's such a great way the year can seem so long in a way. And if you think quarterly, oh my goodness, that's 3 months. We know how fast 1 month can zip by. So I think that's such a wonderful way to keep ourselves accountable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's great. And it actually comes straight from the business world too. I mean, this is something that businesses do all the time. I mean, they can't run a business without checking, right, Lisa? I mean, all you guys in business, you got to know where you are. The GPS of life, right?
Yeah, and yet to bring that into your personal life and really be having that intention of meeting those goals in your personal life, that's what's so great too.
Yeah, and it does work. It really does work. I love it. Okay, so I think we've probably covered what we need to cover today. We're going to have a great final session next week. Lisa's going to be running that. I'll be at even a different conference next week. I'll be in California next week, but hopefully it won't be a problem with being on. I don't think it will be. Elisa, you want to review what we're going to do next week?
What we're going to do next, yep, I certainly will, is when when we do, well, we're making change. This is all about, we're partnering here for change. And we've come together to do that. So how do you make change? Do you try to, like, what is it, eat an elephant? What do you want to eat an elephant one bite at a time, or all one? So next week, we're going to talk about strategies for change. And there's some very definite strategies on how you approach and identify what you're going to change, how you hold yourself accountable, how you work through this whole change process. Martha, I think, yeah, Tala, Martha, we're doing this right now. We're actually going to use the process that we used at Duke. I'm going to talk about and how we walk people through making changes. We don't tell them how to change. We show them how to work that through themselves.
I want to just make sure that everyone who's listening, I want to make sure everyone knows what she's referencing at Duke. So Lisa, myself, Martha, and Tala all went to Duke University last year to become integrative health and wellness coaches. Several of you have moved beyond that initial course and have become nationally certified in that. So many of the concepts that we learned about how to guide a person from one point in their life to another through the process of change is what she's referring to. And our training was more specifically on health and wellness, but it all has to do with, it is all the same methods that you use for making personal change that isn't specific to health. So, yeah, and it's really great strategies.
So we'll take a look at that next week, and then really celebrate the learning. And the other thing, I'd like you to come back if you can, or think about what should be our next step. We of course we really will ask you to give us what worked, what didn't work in this process, and we really are looking forward to hearing that so we can make this even better. But do we get together as a group? I mean, do we maybe do every 60 days? I don't know what it is, but we've already started this amazing circle. We know each other. We trust each other. What's next? I don't know.
We'll have to pray about that.
That's it. That's true.
Let me close in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the time that you have given us. Our time is what is a gift from you. We are learning how to be good stewards of that time, a huge treasure from the bounty of your kingdom. So we ask you, Lord, to be with everyone who wasn't able to join us today. Motivate us, inspire us to continue in our pathway, Lord, and bring us back safely together for our final session next week. And we ask this all in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, everybody. It's so good to see everyone.
Bye.
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 Barbara, I'm trying to, stop recording.